Pretty good crowd. Today's panel will be from hype to reality, practical AI in research. And we have our esteemed panelists coming across right now. So we have Andrew Kania, Chief Scientist for Remesh. We have Jessica Durbin, Chief Product Officer for Remesh. We have Tuluka Chickasaw, the Senior Manager at Post, and Charlie Rader, the Product Research Manager for Procter & Gamble. So welcome, and let's just kind of get started in this. Half of this conference, if not more, is about AI.
More.
Right? And we're talking about how it fits into workflows and things along those lines, where it fits, what works, what doesn't. Is AI going to take your job? Let's start with you.
The answer is no. It will not take your job. Think of AI as an enabler versus a replacer. And that's what I want to talk about today. And let's go back to 1900s when vacuum cleaners came in. Was it like, are they really taking away someone's job? They were only making your life easier. I think that's how you have to see it. AI will keep getting better, how vacuum cleaners have kept getting better, but they will only enable you. And on a funny note, they will help you get jobs. AI is going to help you get jobs, not take away your job. But at the same time, we need to keep this in mind that AI is something new to all of us. So you have to adapt it into your world and work with it rather than thinking of it as an enemy. Think of it someone who's your friend and will help you. So don't push it away, bring it along.
Can you expand a little bit more on this idea of it's going to be helping you get the job?
It's everywhere. I think nowadays, if you just go on LinkedIn and if you find a job, you just copy paste that into a ChatGPT and say, build me a resume. And you just say, what questions could I be asked in an interview for this job description? AI will give you so many answers. You might have not even thought of those answers yourself because either you didn't know or you didn't know who to talk to. But AI is helping you. At times, we humans don't have the confidence or the approach to reach out to a senior manager or executive leaders, or even on LinkedIn, we are not best at networking. But AI is your networking process as well. So I could just ask it a lot of questions.
Yeah. And Jessica, we were talking yesterday. You had some thoughts on this, around AI taking your job.
Yeah, and I love what Tuluka was saying about the vacuum. I think a lot about AI like an electric bike. I live in a place that has a lot of hills. It makes parts of the city completely impassable. But when the electric bike came along, all of a sudden, you could go to places in the city you could never do before, and you also could carry heavy loads like a toddler. So I think of it as enabling you to be able to change the topography of what you're able to do, to go places you weren't able to go before. It makes you faster and it makes you stronger.
So, but it is eliminating a lot of the process of research or reducing the time and energy of how we have traditionally approached a research project. Where does that time and energy go?
I'll comment on that one, which is the grunt work of filling up our memory by reading comments or working through transcripts to be able to synthesize and bring forth the best bits of it. That grunt work, AI is helping us get through. And so the researcher then is able to get to the next level. It's not about the quote. It's not about, where the answer to that question was, but what does the words mean for the implication to your project? How is that going to affect, you're going to change your design, you're going to change the way you're going to communicate that problem. It gets us to the insight faster, and then the researcher should be then elevating it to the why is it important that they said those things, rather than this is what they said.
And we're really getting to the heart of how you're making AI work for you. Go ahead. I interrupted you and I apologize.
No, that's perfectly fine. I think I agree with him. And coming from the market research side, where we are using AI tools within market researchers to only help us to do research better and faster. again, maybe the example of vacuum cleaner or any new equipment, right? It only helps you to do a job better and at a faster speed. So that's what we're looking at. So think of two things. One is analysis and reporting. And we said data cleaning is a very tedious task. So AI will definitely help us in that sphere, which is great. The second aspect of it, I see it is in innovation, where we are struggling to generate ideas, right? I could come up with how many ideas? Like I'm one single person. I can say maybe 10 ideas, 10 different ways of thinking. I would meet you, I would meet some other person, there would be something else. But now this AI has access to so many sources. It is literally triangulating data from multiple sources to give you those ideas. Now, that doesn't mean it has given me the winning idea. That's where humans will come in and say, now it's provided me 100 ideas, let me just glean through and see what's the next step, or do further testing or optimization. As I said, bring it along, use it as a friend, yeah.
I read somewhere that a human, as they're trying to problem solve, can keep about 10 different thoughts in their head or variables in their head to help solve a problem or find a new idea, and AI doesn't have that. The limitation is a little higher, right? So I can see what you mean, supplementing this idea of moving things forward and then with that human overlay of getting into stronger content and better content. Jessica, thoughts?
Yeah, so fun story. I was talking to a brand manager at a baked packed goods company, and he was working on a new design for a hamburger and was using Microsoft Copilot to do so. But one of the key ingredients in that was having enough good data to feed into the model in order to get a good brainstorming partner. So I think it really is about not just the AI, but having the human have that knowledge and that data as positive inputs. The other thing that we've heard a little bit about at this conference, and I think is definitely something we've been hearing about in the market research space, is synthetic sample. And at Remesh, we have a very smart science team that took a look at synthetic sample and determined that it was not ready to replace human sample. But that didn't mean that we didn't want to find creative ways to use it. So what we do now is we have it in a practice feature where you can see responses come in, so you can practice your session before it's live in the field, refine your results. So it's a good way to use AI without fully replacing humans, just because it's not ready for that yet.
Well, and that's a great transition into how do we know if what we're getting is any good, whether it's through synthetic respondents, sometimes I just need to slow down, or the summarization, or the creation of these ideas. Andrew, I know that you spend a lot of time in this area. How do we think about the quality wherever it might fit into that research process?
Yeah, so I think the most important thing is that you test it. Maybe this is the scientist in me, over biased towards it, but I think you'll hear a lot of good stories and a lot of good pitches and a lot of enticing products, and some of them are going to be amazing and some of them are going to be duds. And it's almost impossible to know from their website, or to know by talking to a salesperson, or to know by listening to them talk on a panel. It turns out if you actually want to know if it's BS or not, then you've got to try it. And not just try it, but try comparing it to your gold standard. And so the thing that I would always recommend is right now, to do any type of research, you have a gold standard, a thing that if you do it, no one's going to challenge you on it, your boss is going to trust the results, yada, yada. So do that, but then alongside it, try out one of these AI tools, and then compare the results. And in the worst case, you'll find out, actually, the AI tool didn't work so good, or the results are funky or weird and not good. In the medium case, you'll find out it gets basically the same results, but it took me way less time and it was maybe a little cheaper. Awesome. And in the best case, you'll find the results are consistent with your gold standard, but you actually learn more on top of it. And that is where you know that you actually have a really compelling, good tool. And there's no good way to actually get to know what that is unless you try it. And maybe just to note on the analogy of replacing jobs, I would actually say it will. But the note there is to take the analogy of the vacuum cleaner and the e-bike. If I'm a bad bike rider and I'm a bad vacuum cleaner, but if you put me on an e-bike versus probably most of you on a regular bike, I will still beat you. And if you have me vacuum your home against you who has to brush it, I will probably still beat you. And I think that gap is going to be widening. And so I think that the people, your job is not going to be replaced by AI. It might get replaced by someone who knows how to use AI really well, though.
Yeah.
So let's play this off for just a second, because we know that things like purchase intent are pretty bad measures of what actually happens in the world. So if I run a test and one of them, with just regular people, regular way, says this and AI says something different, how do we start to think about, is this more truth, closer to the truth than this other thing? Have you worked through, and it may take us a couple of years to go, well, this was in market and we said it was going to do this and AI said it was going to do that. It did that.
Yeah, I mean, the market's the real source of truth, right? So everything is speculation until dollars exchange hands, I think. But I would say that you can get a good proxy initially, like without it even going to market. You can actually probably suss out 60% of the BS right off the top, and another 30% just by comparing it to a gold standard. The 10% you got to say is like the golden question of all market research, which is how do I actually know I made a better decision as a result of something? We don't maybe have the time to discuss it because it sort of depends on the specific type of decision that you're making. But effectively, you look at, does the behavior in market of people by whatever you're going to measure or can measure reflect or match to what you thought it would based on whatever the research told you? And it may or may not, and that may be indicative of a changing market or bad research, and that's what makes it a hard question.
Charlie, you started.
Yeah, and I'll kind of add on to what Andrew was saying. I'm starting to liken this as I think about how we utilize AI in the analysis process, which is we used to do lots of focus groups, and what we would toss into the focus group is that focus groups are good for finding probably the middling answer. It'll toss out your dogs, the really bad ideas, as that way. But the problem is the focus group will probably also toss out the disruptive idea. And in the same way that, these AI models are built because they're predictive of all this data set, it can't predict the future in where the disruption is heading. So just to Andrew's point, until dollars change hands, until, we are doing more behavioral experiments in some of these things, the aspect of learning with AI models will get you, let's be generous, 80% there. But it's the screening tool. It's the assistant. It's not what I would go forward with a market on with an AI answer.
Okay, we're going to switch.
And I think we're just starting on the spectrum within MR to use AI. So right now, to ensure it's still going to be intuitive. Like when you see the results, you have been doing market research for so long, you've heard consumers say so many things. So if I'm using AI for a particular topic, perhaps I have a ton of research on the same topic. So intuitively, if the results are similar, and that kind of guides you towards it as well. I mean, there will be a point in time where we will solely use AI, but today I think it's still a combination.
So I want to shift gears here a little bit and talk about data security. A lot of our clients, and we had some discussion about this yesterday, have said, if it says AI, it's out, right? Until our CIO or CTO or whatever. But there are variations on a theme, and I want to talk about what you can do to help minimize this impact of concerns about data security. And you and I had a brief conversation yesterday. You want to go ahead?
Yeah, so Remus was really cautious as we were bringing in generative AI. We've been doing AI in our core algorithm for a very long time, but generative AI is a little different. We work with very security conscious clients, and the security and procurement process is all about minimizing risk. And with AI, the risk is not having the human in control. And so our key for moving these contracts along, we've been very successful here, is making sure we have humans in control. There's the ability to turn it on and off at a granular level, we're always letting you know when we're using AI. And to use our, electric bike example, the human always has the throttle. They're in control of if they're turning it on and off and when they're using AI. So that's been really, really important for us.
Okay, Charlie?
I would agree. The aspect where we're looking at P&G in this space is recognizing when AI is being used so that our researchers can then say, all right, how do I think about this data versus, our normal predictive statistical kinds of measures, and being able to recognize that we are in control. I think that's a great analogy, that what we want to see is, yes, this is when the AI is turned on and these are the kinds of answers we're getting, versus all the other sorts of machine learning and that we've been doing in the past.
Okay. Juluka, do you have a different perspective?
I think it's very interesting what we're talking about, because we're talking about how many companies are not comfortable with AI because it will, we're questioning data privacy here. But in the morning, I had a very interesting discussion with some folks where we were talking about how some technology companies are using AI for data privacy of the consumers, okay?
Yeah.
So that's like absolutely contrasting. So what they're doing is they do not want to show the face of the consumer or their identity in the qualitative interviews. So they want to create an avatar and still get those, consumer point of views. So I was like, okay, now, so that's literally so ironic here.
Let me jump in with our last prepared question. And this is, instead of kind of an either or, how can research inform AI? And I know that you've looked at this a lot, Andrew, so I wanted to turn this over to you first.
Yeah, sure. So I think probably many of you in this room use AI. Probably most of you are aware that these are extremely large, powerful models trained on basically the entire internet and all of human knowledge. And their impact on the world is growing quite quickly, measured on the time scale of months now. But their behaviors are something that have to be determined for them. And what they do and the impact they have on the world is still an open question. And one of the most important problems seen by the people who develop AI is called alignment. What do you align the model to? Said another way, what is an appropriate way for it to behave and not? And so in asking this question, how should a model behave, you have to do market research. You have to figure out, what does humanity as a group of individuals think is the appropriate way for these models to behave. And so we've been working with OpenAI to figure out how to do this. And so it is an interesting symbiotic relationship where they use our product to understand what the world wants in terms of the policies and the behaviors that are going to be acceptable in their next generation of AI models. Well, at the same time, we use their models in our product that are being made better through it to accelerate all these different parts of the research workflow. And so I think there's a really interesting future relationship emerging between AI, kind of the leading foundation models, and the world of market research that is symbiotic, where we right now, everyone here kind of thinks of research as being a consumer of AI, but I think actually what's emerging is that AI is going to be a consumer of research, and arguably it might be the most important research problem in the world. If you think of in terms of the impact that AI and in the next few years AGI is likely to have, it is unmeasurable by many means. And so whether or not it goes in a direction that is good for humanity or bad is going to be determined by how it is aligned. And right now, the best approaches to figure that out are to use tools that people use for research. So
You just gave my heart anxiety.
I should give you hope. Yeah.
Both.
Okay, fair.
So Charlie, and this idea of research informing AI, whether it be kind of at the core level or more of an application level, what are you looking at?
Well, we were chatting about this a little bit yesterday, which was, I see AI as sort of like the operating system on a computer. What we in the research industry need to do is build great applications that are using the base understanding technologies to get the learnings and interest from our consumers and our respondents So it is how do we then build informative systems that are, whether we're building it internally sometimes at P&G or we're looking to our vendors and suppliers to help inform additional models just beyond here's the LLM and, go ask it something.
Yeah. I don't know if there are any questions or not. We have just a second or two. If there are questions, let me just take a look. And we have agreement with you. So on the synthetic sample, and come on, you can do it. We'll go with one question. Is there risk to recursive use of AI to ask it how to best use itself? Like this.
It's an interesting question. Would you, we took the smartest person in the world, would you want them to determine how they should apply their smarts? I don't know the answer. I'm just posing it as a question. But I think that we're going to have to answer much harder questions in the very near future than all of us have to answer today. Right now, we're answering questions about products largely. What feature does it have? Should it do this? Should it taste this way? Should I brand it this way? What's the best color? And actually the tools are quite good and we're refining them to do that. But it may be that in the next year or two, or definitely in our lifetime, these are going to be questions of like, so we've built God. What morality should it have? What is the way that it should approach things? If it's smarter than us and it thinks that this thing is best for humanity, but humanity disagrees, how do we resolve that? And so I think that there's a mandate for us to really sharpen these tools, because kind of questions that we're answering now that feel hard might pale in comparison to the questions that we will have to answer one way or another very near in the future.
I have not talked to ChatGPT about morality, but I think I'm going to in just a couple of minutes. So I want to thank everybody for participating. Charlie, Jessica, Andrew, Talika, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
We tried to not talk about our product because a lot of people are shilling you right now. However, if you do want to learn about it, we got a booth back there and we'll do a quick demo if you want to come check it out. Anything to add, Jessica? All right, there you go.
Thanks, everyone.
That's cool.